Greetings, YouTube. I'm sure most people have heard of the movie Wanted that had Angelina Jolie in it. It was a fantasy action adventure kind of film, a thriller that had the premise that a group of sort of good guy assassins were taking out people for the greater cosmic balance kind of concept. But it was based on a graphic novel also called Wanted. And the film and the graphic novel have very little in common. I'm going to talk about both, and they're going to be chock full of spoilers, so if you haven't watched the movie and you don't want to have any surprises spoiled, stop watching now. Same goes for the graphic novel. Both the film and the graphic novel have the main character as the son of the world's greatest assassin. And that's about where the similarities end. The film has almost nothing to do with the graphic novel. The film is almost a very straight Hollywood thriller. He's a member of an organization, he is deceived, he ends up having to go against the organization, there's a big gun battle, and, the hero wins in the end. It's very Hollywood. It's nicely wrapped up at the end. There are some great special effects, solid action, great stunt work and fight scenes, no question about it. It's a great way to kill an hour and a half, of if you want to rent it, Netflix it or something. I saw it in the theaters, and frankly, it wasn't worth the price. The graphic novel, though, is completely different. In the graphic novel, the story takes place in the universe where Marvel and DC characters are real. Except for one minor detail. The good guys lost. The supervillains won. Completely. The supervillains beat every single hero there was and rewrote the very fabric of reality so that no ordinary people remember that the heroes ever existed, and none of them know that the supervillains are now in charge of the entire planet. The supervillains have the world broken up into 6 syndicate zones, each with a different leader in charge, basically based on the continents. They skipped Antarctica. And each gets their, sphere of influence. And of course there's backstabbing and infighting between them, but it's all very minor stuff because they realize that the best way to make money is to not hurt each other. One of the ways they make profits is they dip themselves and skip over into alternate universes. And if you've ever read any Marvel or DC comics, you know that there are parallel universes everywhere. Well, these people plunder them. They steal technology, money, art objects. They go there just to kill superheroes in the worlds that still have them. And the main character is called up by the Syndicate because his father is dead. And he needs to be the replacement for the world's greatest assassin. Except he's a wussy. He has never had any kind of training. He's just a little milquetoast guy like the movie. Well, they train him. In the comic book, though, they train him much more violently. There isn't just fighting going on. They beat this guy. They have him work in a slaughterhouse every day for months until he is completely desensitized to taking life. They beat him until he gets to the point where he breaks himself free from being tied up and kills the guy beating him, who was one of his trainers. There's no punches held in this comic. When he finally makes that leap into this syndicate world of these super bad villains, he makes it wholeheartedly. He goes back to his old apartment and kills his neighbor because he can. Because he knows the syndicate will hide it up, will hush it up. No one will ever know. He goes out and rapes an A-list actress. Why? Because he can. The woman in the graphic novel is known as the Fox, and Angelina Jolie played her in the movie, is Halle Berry. Isn't like Halle Berry playing a supervillain. No, in this universe, the comic artist drew this person to look just like Halle Berry. In this universe, Halle Berry is not an actress, she's a supervillain. It's a really cool idea because it's very easy to tell that it's her. And she was the main character's father's lover, and she ends up being his. So you got this, this whole Oedipal thing going on, and just absolutely immoral people. And of course, the backstabbing gets worse in the comic. They eventually have a big showdown. I'm not going to completely spoil the ending, but there's a final resolution about what happened to his father. At the end of the comic, end of this graphic novel, the author and the artist break the fourth wall. The main character talks to you, the reader, not to another character in the comic book. He speaks to you, the person reading the graphic novel, in your hand, and explains to you that the world he's just described is your world. But you don't believe. Because you don't believe, he and all of the supervillain buddies of his are going to keep screwing you in the butt forever and laugh while doing it, because you haven't figured out that they are actually in charge. The comic is full of wonderfully dark humor, satire. It makes fun of all these different comic book characters. It's just a really great time, but it's very dark, very violent. I don't recommend it for anybody who can't handle adult content. But it's also significantly better and more entertaining than the movie.